Oh, welcome to episode 3 of the Sports Rundown, the show where we talk all things American and European sports, everything that I follow and am knowledge and think I have a little bit of knowledge on. It's kind of similar to Part of the Interruption. If you follow that, that's really where the main inspiration from this came from. Yeah, and here's this third episode. There's a very nice comment left on the second episode, so we really appreciate that, or I really appreciate that. Shout out of the day, okay, is Cooper Flag in college basketball. Um, he plays for the Duke Blue Devils, and he has been on a tear, scoring 18 points, 13 points, 26 points, with 12 rebounds, 11 rebounds, and 7 rebounds. Just big shout out to him. Um, he's a young college basketball player. People are saying he might go to the NBA too soon. He has still some issues, but I mean, we can't comment on that until he actually gets there, right? So, big Premier League news. David Coote, the Premier League referee, has been suspended after allegedly, well, not allegedly, he was in a video from COVID times, I believe, um, basically bashing um, Jurgen Klopp, the Liverpool manager, Liverpool, and Liverpool as a team, just basically calling them bad words and saying he doesn't like to ref them. Um, you really can't do that, can you? I mean, just imagine are on video and you're just talking bad about people you manage, right? But it's not even people you manage. Like it's you're on the same level as them, but you control how they do, right? Like you can't do that. You can't comment about anybody from your like workplace, right? It's terrible. And I think it's right. I think, but a lot of people have been commenting, well, where is this accountability for referees that make bad decisions? There have been a number of referees recently who have been making bad decisions, and the PGML have said that they're bad decisions and said that they should not have made those decisions, yet there is no repercussions for them. These are two completely different scenarios. I think we need to take these and isolate them. Okay, one of them is a personal issue where this man hates one team and is reffing them. And if you look up his name, it says he's allegedly doing like snorting white powder on the sidelines. There's just a whole lot going on with him. Okay, you look up his name, David Koo. Look up his name, and you could find three different issues, personal issues on him, right? That are happening. Now, when you talk about other referees making bad decisions, I don't think they should be suspended forever or taken out of the game or fired. When you make a bad decision, there should be some repercussions. You either ref smaller games, you get sent down a division. I think getting sent down a division is after a couple missed calls, because if you're missing a bunch of calls with the assistance of VAR, what are you doing? What are you doing? And um, but if you just miss one, you get like you just don't you get suspended 1 week when you're directly like you're doing something wrong, right? And you can't prove intent, I guess, but they have said you're making wrong calls, right? It's not like baseball where umpiring you like it's normal to miss one or two or up to like three or four or five calls a game when you're behind the plate. You miss those calls. This is completely different. You are getting video assisted review and you are on the pit. Like shouldn't be making this many errors, right? And a lot of these referees are getting bigger games. It's very odd. Um, Switching over, we're going to do European American. College football weekend wrapped up. Um, Want to comment on this very briefly. I think most of these games we expected, Oregon maintaining undefeated. Really, I stand by my team. I think this is really great for college football. I think a lot of people are getting into it, and we're going to talk about another sport later on, baseball, which I think a lot of people are getting more into because of the competitiveness and because of other things. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Um, Notre Dame beating Florida State. I mean, Florida State are really not a good team this year. Alabama demolishing LSU 42-13, moving Alabama up to the ranked 9. Um, and Colorado just maintaining winning. They just keep on winning. And a lot of people doubted them. I wasn't too high on them, and they just keep on winning. Indiana remaining undefeated, moving up to the 5 rank. It's just a good season. And last but not least, certainly not least, Ole Miss beating Georgia. Now, for all you Europeans out there, Georgia has been dominant these past 4 or 5 years, right? Dominant. Okay, they've won multiple championships. They're extremely good team. And Ole Miss, I can't remember the last time they. I don't like. I can. I luckily I have Google. Um, but I can't remember the last time they won a championship. Um, but um, so they have been selected as national champions in the 50s and 60s, early late 50s and early 60s. So this is not like a historic team. I knew they weren't a historic team, but I wanted to put like some stats on it, this is not like a historic team, right? They've been good, right? They're like one of those teams that they're good, but they're not gonna win it. And they just beat Georgia. But it's just been a dominant team, they've having an off season, and it stinks. Like it's kind of weird how we're saying an off season is just two losses. But there's a couple more games to go, so we'll see. I just think that's amazing for college football. You need more like variety and diversity in that sport, which has been so Alabama, Georgia, LSU driven for such a long time, right? You need some diversity. You need new teams like Oregon, Ole Miss, Indiana. You need these new teams, Boise State. You need these new teams to keep on going and keep on winning, right? To make it interesting, and that's what you need for this 12-team playoff. And I think it's really, really, really good that it's happening. Um, yeah, and it's great that it's happening to Ole Miss, which haven't won since 1962. Moving over to European. Last week or 4 days ago, we talked about the Premier League, right? And how I thought it was incredibly competitive. I loved it. And then I saw a stat. Well, I saw a stat before that, but I figured I'd comment on it today since today, for all those who don't follow football, soccer, um, European football is international break. So there's no club matches going on. There's not a whole lot to comment on. But something I'd just like to comment on real quick is the Serie A. They have probably the most competitive league right now. It is incredible. I don't watch any other leagues aside from sometimes um, sometimes Premier League, and sometimes League of Ireland. Barely League of Ireland, um, Premier League, and sometimes La Liga, right? Um, and this is incredible. I'm probably gonna watch some of these games, right? I watched Champions League and I watched Europa League. Um, I don't usually watch the Serie A games, highlights maybe on like the really big matches, but watching those matches, I don't really. And Napoli are at 26 points. Atalanta are at 25. Fiorentina are at 25. Inter Milan are at 25. Lazio is at 25. Juventus is at 24. That's six teams within 2 points, right? And the goal differentials are incredible: 10 goals and 16 goals, 15 goals, 12 goals, 11 goals, 14 goals, right? And I guess if you're winning that much, it kind of makes sense that you have that big a goal differential. But it's incredible how this is happening. This is going to be a really tight race. I hope it stays this tight for the entirety of the season. I think it'll be really good. And I'm really going to be paying attention to this because I think it's really important. And these are some really good teams. And I think it's incredibly interesting how every game is mattering for six teams now, right? Um, Moving over to the NFL, we had some incredible games today, or this past week. We had the Panthers winning in overtime against the Giants after the Giants running back fumbled the ball. We had the Patriots upsetting the Bears. The Bears are just in a free fall at this point. I really thought they were going to win. You had the 49ers winning on a last minute field goal against the Buccaneers. You had the Chiefs blocking a last minute field goal against the Broncos, which would have made the Chiefs defeated. And the Broncos their kick got blocked and they ended up losing the match. It's incredible. It's crazy. My Commanders lost due to an insane final couple minutes touchdown by Mike Williams. And it's heartbreaking personally that it happened that way. And I really thought we could have won that match. I thought it was a really important match and we would have been in a really good spot if we won that. But things happen. You can't win them all. Um, Saints edge out the Falcons, Eagles destroy the Cowboys, and the Jets are just terrible. The Cardinals beat the Jets 31-6. Terrible. How are they? It's terrible how they are managing this. Right? Like you have one of the best wide receivers in the game. Like it's hard to say Aaron Rodgers even is one of the best quarterbacks in the game. It's hard to say that because he's not. He's not, and it's really sad. I have a couple Jets friends, and it is sad. And the Lions beating the Texans on a big fourth quarter with 13 points in the fourth quarter, and the Lions are just keeping pace. They are one of those teams, and that's what they're showing. Um, our Thursday night football game, which is happening tonight, is the Eagles versus the Commanders. As a Commanders fan, I would really love to say I think the Commanders will win, but I think the Eagles are just the Commanders are more of a team that are eking out these wins. They're winning like they're winning big games against the bad teams, but like these are some close games that we're playing here. And the Eagles they almost lost to the Cowboys, but they're crushing Bengals, crushing the Giants, barely beat the Browns. I just think the Eagles have it. I recently they've been on a good form, really good form. Aside, you take out that Jaguars game where they almost lost. Um, they've been on good form for the past four matches. And I don't think, as the Commanders, who I think we've been playing some easier teams. I mean, we barely beat the Bears, we barely beat the Giants, we barely lost to the Steelers, and then we crushed the Panthers. So I just don't think it's in the cards for us as much as I would love for us to win. And our final topic, oh no, we have two more topics. UFC 309 is in this Sunday, or no, this Saturday night is UFC 309, and I'm just gonna give some of my picks real quick, right? I'm just gonna do the main card, um, and I'm just gonna do the from Bo Nickel up. So Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. I think Bo Nickel is going to he's improving his striking, and yeah, I think he's just going to keep on winning. I think he's eventually going to get hype train checked, um, and he is going to lose eventually. I think. Well, I know because everyone loses eventually. Except for Khabib, but everybody loses eventually. But I think this match he will win. His striking is a bit better, and his wrestling is really good. Although I think it can get overstated that he's the best wrestler in the UFC when Khamzat Chimaev is right there. But you know, I think it's hard to say who's going to win with Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. Um, I've seen some people take Michael Chandler. I really don't think that's the case. I think Charles Oliveira is going to win. Reasoning being, Charles Oliveira already beat him, and Charles Oliveira is active. Those are the two reasons. I understand wanting Michael Chandler to win, and it's hard to say who I want because Michael Chandler has been kind of forced out in the past couple years. But Michael Chandler has not been active. He's been the opposite of that. And he's already been beat by Charles. So I think Charles Oliveira is going to win. I think it's probably going to be either a submission or to decision. I don't think Charles is going to knock him out. But I think Chandler could win, but just because we haven't seen him in a while. John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. We've already commented on this fight before. I don't understand why this fight is happening. John Jones is going to beat him. I hope Stipe Miocic holds up a fight and his striking is still there, and um, but he's gonna lose, and I think it's not gonna be pretty personally. And I hope Stipe wins. I quite honestly do, but I don't think that's gonna happen. And a little side comment on boxing, real quick. Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul. A lot of my friends have been like, "Oh, are you excited for that match? You excited for that match?" No, because it is one of the greatest fighters of all time, if not the greatest. Um, at how old is he now? He's up at 58 years of age, right? He's fighting a YouTuber. And I'm all about the YouTubers coming into boxing. But if you're gonna take these type of fights and fight other YouTubers or fight 58-year-old men, like I'm not gonna take you that seriously. That's just how it is. Am I gonna watch it? Probably not. If my friends are all watching it, I might go and just like have it on in the background. But I'm not gonna be taking this and be like, oh, Jake Paul is that guy. Right? This is just a payday. And if Mike Tyson wins, I sincerely hope Mike Tyson wins because I think that would be amazing. And I think that would just be really good. And I don't know. But there's a whole lot of clauses. If you really like look up YouTube videos, there's a whole lot of clauses in this fight that make it kind of like look like it's not, um, like It's just it's a weird situation. If you look up other YouTube videos about this fight, there's a whole bunch of clauses and it just looks weird. Um, and the final topic of the day is the baseball. Um, I just want to talk about how baseball is growing. Baseball has, well, I was watching some YouTube the other day and listening to some podcasts, and there are so many candidates for most valuable player. It's insane. There are so many stars in this game, so many stars, and I think this that and the pitch clock. I think the pitch clock is helping immensely, and the fact that there's some variety. There's a little bit of variety. Obviously, the Dodgers don't really show that, but last year we had Rangers versus Diamondbacks, right? We had the Mets going very far, right? Um, and to finish it off, you had the two biggest markets in the World Series, which certainly helped with um, Los Angeles and New York. And you had Cleveland. You just had so many amazing. You have the Tigers just making it from nothing. They had decimal points of chances, and then they made it. And then they make it to the second round and barely lose to the Cleveland Guardians. Like it's just a good story, and it's amazing. And the series were amazing. And the game is on a great trajectory. And I just want to speak about like these MVPs. Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, and Bobby Witt Jr. Great, I completely agree with that. You also have Gunnar Henderson, right? That's another player that like he is an MVP caliber player. This season was MVP caliber. Then you also have Francisco Lindor, Ketel Marte, and Shohei Ohtani. Shohei Ohtani, who's gonna win the MVP. Like these are all like great players, but I think the two MVPs are pretty set. And Aaron Judge, who had 58 homers. Kind of hard to say that you're gonna um, beat that in an MVP race. And Shohei Ohtani, who was the first player to have 50 or more home runs and 50 or more stolen bases, and he had 54 home runs and 59 stolen bases. You can't beat that. And he's a DH. For all you Europeans who don't follow baseball, DH, all you do is hit. You don't play in the field. And that's because he's injured. He's a one-of-a-kind player. He pitches and hits, but he got injured while pitching. His show, I forgot what injury it was, but it's an injury in his arm. And he was recovering this. He got Tommy John surgery. And yeah, now I remember he got Tommy John surgery, so he's out this season for pitching, but he decided to just hit instead. And it's unprecedented. Like it's crazy to have a DH MVP. It's crazy, but he's probably gonna win it because he had such a good season. But yeah, that is the sports rundown. I think baseball's in a great trajectory. Um, leave any comments on what you would like to me to talk about in particular. And yeah, uh, thanks so much. And yeah, have a good day.